Mosaic artist Julie Richey has won international acclaim for her beautiful sculptural mosaics that often appear lighter than air. What many people don't know is that Richey is equally at home creating and installing large-scale architectural commissions. In this mini tutorial featuring Laticrete's one-step method, Richey shares tips and tricks learned from 20 years of experience that any mosaic artist can use.
Hi, I'm Julie Richey, and I'm going to talk about the Laticrete one-step method. I think it's the best system available for installing large and small mosaics. I've used the one-step method on 2 large-scale public artworks recently, one interior, the other exterior. One step is great for both, and it saves me so much time and labor. I've been making and installing mosaics for more than 20 years. I started by creating small residential projects like bath floors and entryways. From there, my portfolio grew to include large commercial installations, like this one at the Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport. It's important to me that the materials I use to adhere and grout my mosaics are of the highest quality. From the artwork itself to the mortar and grout, everything should have integrity and durability. Laticrete products meet the highest industry standards, but that's not the only thing that drives me to select Laticrete. Without fail, Laticrete's customer service and technical support is there for me when I need it. They sometimes even make house calls. Here we are with Robert Devereaux, Laticrete's Austin Regional Rep, during installation at UT. Robert provided answers to some of our tricky technical questions and followed up to make sure our installation had gone smoothly. What a guy! So let's talk about the advantages of the one-step method. First, one step means there's no need to buy mortar and grout. Your chosen grout color, mixed with the 4237 additive, both adheres and grouts in one pass. Color continuity. You can expect true color from the mortar through the grouting process, since you're using the same product and dye lot. One step means you won't have to spend time scraping out mortar to make way for a different color grout. Have you ever grouted a project only to find that there are high spots of gray or white mortar poking through and spoiling your grout job? That doesn't happen with one step. Sanded or unsanded grout. There's no difference when you use Laticrete's permacolor grout. It's fine enough to fill in the smallest joints, but it has enough body to resist sagging in the larger joints. The San Angelo Heritage Mosaic was commissioned by Angelo State University. The wall is 42 feet long and 29 inches high at its highest. The mosaic serves a practical purpose as a seating area for students using the Porter Henderson Library. And it's also the first commissioned public art piece on the ASU campus. The material is quarry tile, an eco-body, high-fired tile made in Spokane, Washington. The mosaic was assembled in my studio over 3 months using a direct method. Tiles were cut and placed over a pattern and then taped together with a very sticky, low-density polyethylene mosaic tape. Here are the 2 components. Laticrete's 4237 latex admix, which comes in a 5-gallon bucket, and permacolor grout. Permacolor is color fast, resists staining, and contains microban to prevent mold and mildew growth. We're going to mix natural gray grout with the 4237, and I use a power mixer to get a thorough blend and to save my arm strength for troweling thin set. Since we're installing in 85-degree-plus weather in arid West Texas, we're mixing the mortar to a slightly wetter consistency than usual. Remember the 18-degree rule. For every 18 degrees Fahrenheit above 70, Portland cement takes only half the time to cure as it normally would. Since the first batch will be applied to a horizontal surface, we don't have to worry about slipping or sagging of the applied mosaic sections. Quarry tile is fairly heavy, so when we get to the vertical parts of the installation, we'll mix thicker mortar and have someone ready with sections of tape to hold the pieces in place until they set. You'll need to determine how much 4237 and grout you require based on the ambient temperature and humidity during your particular installation. You may have to go back and forth a bit to get the right consistency, but remember, once you stop mixing the components and let the mortar begin its mandatory 5-minute slaking time, you can't go back and add powder, liquid, or water to the mortar. You'll interfere with the chemical bonding process that's taking place, which could result in a weak mortar and a bad bond with the tile. Once the mortar has slaked for 5 minutes, we remix it to ensure a good blend of all the chemicals. We've already washed and scrubbed the concrete, but we'll also sponge it with clean water to remove any surface dust and help the mortar bond with the concrete. The first step is a scratch coat of thin mortar. You want to make sure that the mortar isn't pulling away from a dry, dusty substrate. Press hard and listen for that scratch. meaning that a thin layer of mortar is clinging to the substrate. Now add enough mortar to adhere the tile sections, choosing a notched trowel suited to the depth of your mosaic material. Once you lay the section in place, firmly tamp down on the entire tile section. If you've put on too much mortar, it'll ooze up between the joints and cause the mosaic to be uneven. Ideally, the mortar should not reach the top surface of your tile tape. If you are using a meshed back tile, you can use enough mortar to fill the entire joint, and then you'll just wipe away the excess mortar when it's firm enough to clean up. We found that the one-step mixture has a slightly longer pot life than average mortar due to the latex admix. But once this mortar flashes, it's hard and unusable, so don't mix more than you can use in about a half-hour period. Here's a friendly tip. Frequently stirring the bucket of mortar will prolong the pot life somewhat. If it's shiny, it's good. If the mortar is starting to skin over and become dull, stir it up. When you mix another batch, be sure to thoroughly clean out the residual mortar from the prior batch. You don't want two different mortars at different stages of their slaking process trying to bond together. The older mortar will win that fight and your new mortar will flash too soon. So we've installed virtually all of our mosaic except a few border pieces, and we're ready to peel the tape. This is my favorite part. You can see that the one-step method is a clean install with little waste, another thing I like about this process. In this installation, we will mix more permacolor grout, this time with just distilled water, to grout any joints that aren't already filled. Although you can use the 4237 as a mix again, I don't recommend it. The adhesive component is unnecessary and makes cleanup more difficult. You'll be scraping and scrubbing rather than wiping and polishing. After the grout is set and wiped up, a simple buff will complete the process. Since Laticrete's permacolor grout is stain resistant and contains microban, I never worry about sealing my installations. I give my clients simple care instructions to clean the mosaic up with a pH-neutral soap when needed. No waxes, acids, or power scrubbers are necessary. When I completed my first installation with Laticrete's one-step method, I had only one regret: not discovering the one-step method years ago.